5th of April, 2019. I know it's an odd hour of the day. You're just not used to seeing me now. Well, there's good reason for it. I am Jeannie, by the way, and I'm glad that you decided to hang in there with me and wait to hear me this afternoon, to watch me this afternoon. Well, I'd like to share with you the reason why I was late in doing this broadcast today, and that is because I was with my husband at the doctor's office. He's been having some issues with his throat and just different parts of his, this whole area of his face, of his head, which also meant that he had to have a hearing test. And that was one of the things that we were in there for today. So it was kind of fun. I sat with the technician while Michael was in the square booth. And when you're in that little booth, it kind of reminds you of like being on a game show. So like when he came out, we said, "Did you win the $1 million?" But of course, that's not what he was in there for. So he was having all the beeps and the sounds and this, that, and the other. And he did this big involved hearing test. I started thinking about the whole issue of hearing. I mean, think about it. You could be talking to somebody and they could be nodding their head, and actually they could be technically hearing you, but if they're not listening, then they're really not hearing what you have to say. Over and over again in the Bible, there were times where God or the prophets or the leaders or the righteous kings, they spoke words to the people and they heard it but did nothing about it. And let me tell you something. Did you ever hear the old saying, it's like falling on deaf ears? Just because it's going in there does not mean that you're listening, paying attention, or doing what you're being told to do or actually hearing it. And so think about folks that you might have known in your lifetime that were stone deaf. I know I have one cousin who was born with without any ears, and they hadn't formed properly while his mother was expecting him, so he was born completely deaf and without ears. He only has like one little earlobe, my cousin. So he couldn't hear that way, but that doesn't mean that he couldn't communicate, that he was actually quite smart, quite sharp. He taught me, my sister, the alphabet with our hands, the deaf alphabet, which was kind of fun. So we could still talk to him and he could hear us without actually hearing us, because he read lips, he understood writing, and now through social media, he and I have reconnected, and it's kind of cool to be able to communicate with each other. You'd never know that he doesn't have the gift of hearing because he can communicate otherwise. There's lots of ways to communicate. There's lots of ways to speak. There's lots of ways to listen. There's lots of ways to hear. But likewise, the other side of the coin is you could be 100% able-bodied, where you could see to write, where you have ears to hear, where you have a mouth to speak, and yet you're not exercising those in a correct way. And as a result, the miscommunication factor can always add up to a whole parcel of trouble. So my encouragement to you today, boys and girls, first of all, go be a blessing to somebody today. You might end up being the only one who is. And if you know someone who you can talk to and they hear you but they don't actually hear you, encourage them in the value of paying attention so that when they hear it, it can properly absorb and they can process what it is you're saying to them. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my YouTube channel, Jeanne Sigler, Jeanne Sigler, so that you can see and hear all of my past take-twos. And of course, for the best programming, the best music, the best everything, tune into WRMZ.org and click that listen button. And guess what? You'll hear some great programming. All right, thank you for hanging with me. Like I said, don't forget, tomorrow is Friday, so that means it's time for my unsung hero of the week. So make sure you tune in so that you can see and hear everything I have to share. Love you all very much. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye-bye. You hear what I'm saying? Okay.